Hi, welcome back. It's been a while. Today we're just going to do a bit of a quick discussion, more than a review. It's going to be a discussion. The way I feel about things is you can go and get an in-depth review about this lens, the Sigma 17 to 40, 1.8 art. You can go and get all that kind of information about, the build quality, features of the lens. I just want to get today into why I won't be keeping this lens and how disappointing that was because I've been waiting for a replacement to my 18 to 35 for quite some time. So there's the 18 to 35. Let me block my face. So you should focus on it. So you've got it here with the Fringer Pro 3 adapter, which is the non-speed boosting one. All right. I actually do have, I'm a big fan of the Fringer adapters and Sigma lenses. I have here an XH2S with the Ultra. This is the speed boosting one with the 51.2. That creates a 37 mil f0.9 kind of experience on APS-C. It's pretty cool. We have, I've got 50 to 100. 1.8 with a Fringer adapter. So yeah, I'm well used to adapting third-party lenses. There's no problems with that. But there's a few things that I really had high hopes for with the 17 to 40 that unfortunately just aren't getting met on X mount. I'm not going to hold Sigma responsible for this problem. A little bit I will, but not wholly. I think this is more to do with the fact it's just not working on X mount. It's just, and I probably should have seen this coming, to be honest. So let's just get into that. Let's talk about why I probably won't be keeping this lens and the kind of deal breakers, if you like. So just to get some perspective, what do I actually do? I shoot performances, I shoot theater, the occasional government conference, things like that. But I really do mixed media as well. So it's important for me with lenses that they're working quite well in video as well as in stills. And I will say it straight away, if you are just going to do stills, this is fantastic. Just get it. Don't even think twice about it. It's unique. There's nothing else on the market, especially for Fujifilm. Between 17 to 40, 1.8, I mean, you could basically replace the 18 f2, the 23 f2. Is there like a 35 f2 or something like that? Yeah, three lenses in one, basically. All of these higher image quality, no real chromatic aberration, handles flare reasonably well, all that stuff, sharp. I mean, I think somebody did a good video and showed them that this was beating the contemporary Sigma lenses, like the little primes, the 23 and the 30 whatever, 31.4. Now, just so you are get educated, when Sigma slap art onto the lens, they mean it. That usually means the quality is very high. The contemporary range is like a budget. Art's good stuff. It's an art lens. And for its price, I think it's very good. For stills, there's no problem. So where it lets me down is in the video world. So first thing is the declick aperture ring. Now, I didn't buy this lens for having a declick aperture ring, and I do subscribe to that kind of like it's a bit of a weird way to control exposure. But the way, if you're running and gunning like I am, and you're doing a bit mixed media, 1 minute you're doing stills, the next minute you're doing video of the same moment in time, or pretty close to that moment in time. Sometimes you don't have time to dig out the ND filters and all that kind of stuff, the variable ND filters. So we want to control exposure quickly, and you could do it through the aperture. It's actually a lot. You would think it'd be really noticeable, in video. It's actually not as noticeable as you think. It's you don't actually notice that depth of field wildly change. But unfortunately on Fuji, it just is still stepping like crazy. It's like it's still clicked, just it's behaving. You just see those steps. And with Fuji, what's really annoying is they also step in shutter. So say you locked your video mode to aperture priority, you kept it, f2.8 or 1.8, whatever, and you let the shutter speed go up and down, that still steps. So the only way for Fuji to be kind of an automatic camera and have a smoother kind of exposure as you go from a bright place to a dark place would be to lock off your shutter speed, lock off your aperture, and be an auto ISO. And that's kind of the only way they can get around it. But yeah, that was really disappointing. And look, I'm not holding my breath for a fix to come, and I'll tell you why. I think when Fuji also released their own 16 to 55 f2.8 Mark II, they featured for the first time, I think, a declicked aperture ring. I don't think it happened until then. And when it first came out, I think it had this exact problem. It had aperture stepping, but Fuji released a firmware for that lens, and I think, don't quote me, but I think it fixed it. And I find this hilarious. This is where the Fuji lenses actually control so much of what happens with the whole experience, rather than it being in the body. There really is this kind of merger between the lens and the body. It doesn't make a lot of sense why some lenses do well and some don't. Another example would be the 18 to 120 power zoom that Fuji have. I believe for a while, when doing a parfocal zoom, going from 18 to 120, you would get an exposure jump, stepping as well. You'd see at the moment it just gets brighter. Even when you're in full manual, it would still happen. And again, I believe they've released a firmware that fixes that for that lens. And so it's kind of weird to me. Basically, because Sigma is doing this problem right now, I don't think Fuji are going to release a firmware for a camera body that fixes, exposure stepping with a declicked aperture ring for X mount. And I don't think Sigma are going to come out with that fix either. In fact, one of the problems with the Sigma lens is there's really no way to update the firmware. That's another big reason why I probably won't hold on to it. Now, this isn't just a problem for for Sigma or Fuji. This is right now. I've got a Voigtlander Ultron Nocturne, no, Ultron, I think it is 27f2, tiny little pancake lens. It's lovely manual focus, but it has EXIF, it has contacts, it communicates that information. But unfortunately, there's a glitch on recent firmware and recent Fuji bodies where when you're shooting wide open, your EXIF will read f22. It actually happens more often than not. It's more the norm. I don't shoot at f22, so it doesn't really bother me that much. But the fix for that is you have to send that lens back to Voigtlander. There's no USB port. They don't have a dock. There's just no way to do it. You have to send it back. Um, when the Sigma R1740 first came out on the market, excuse me, there was a little bit of an issue with IBIS. IBIS wasn't working properly. I think it delayed the release of this lens by a couple of weeks as suppliers updated the firmware. So if you go and check your firmware for this lens, if you're still on 1.00 for whatever reason, IBIS is not working on X mount. 1.01 and IBIS is working correctly. And you know, I can understand why, Sigma haven't put the firmware up on their website because they don't want people necessarily to update the lens firmware through the Fujifilm body in case something goes wrong. Sigma don't want to be held liable for that. And Fujifilm probably be quite cross if Sigma are doing that, and because they could break their camera. And it gets into a mess of who's going to take responsibility, Sigma or Fuji, for a problem with that kind of upgrade path. So I think it's really those lenses that come out from Viltrox with a USB port. I think that's clever and that's the way to go. That's definitely that way you'll always keep up to dates with the problems that the camera has. It's not just that. I also have a Samyang 75 1.8 X AF. I think they call that lens. And that one at the moment is not working properly and not giving me IBIS. And I'm not getting control over the autofocus continuous custom settings. So interestingly, the Samyang do supply a dock that you can buy, but they've got no firmware on their website for that lens. They've got one for 12f2, but not for the 75 1.8. And I've been in talk with them, and actually the lenses had to go back to them as well, and for them to get a look at to see if they can update it and fix it. So my point is, we're in a real mess now with third-party lenses and firmware. These cameras are like computers. You update your body, camera body, and now lenses don't work the way they used to work. That's just what's going on. And so let's say next year, 2026, an X Pro 4 comes out, or an XHCS or something. There's a good chance IBIS doesn't work again with this lens, and now I have to send it back off to Sigma to get it fixed, and I just can't be bothered with that. I think you're absolutely going to be safer buying native lenses. If there's a problem, there'll be a pathway there to fixing it and addressing it. So that's problem number two, I think. So we've mentioned the D-click aperture ring doesn't do anything, does sod all on X mount. Firmware upgrades is risky now. That's an education for me. Anyway, but the big one, the one that the straw that broke the camel's back or whatever, final nail in the coffin for me is what I had hoped with this lens would be to have some decent focus pulls. Autofocus continue works fine in stills. It works absolutely fine. In talking headshots like this, it'd do absolutely fine as well. Where I was hoping is, and what I don't get with these EF adapters. So with the Fringer adapter, we can see it. This adapter here, it's pretty. It supports autofocus continuous, but you can't have access to. I mean, you do actually have access to the custom settings in the menu. You can change the values, but they have no effect. They just do nothing. So every kind of focus change is a very abrupt, quick change. And I was hoping with this Sigma 17 to 40, I could get a nice slow transition with focus, which I can. However, every time it just feels like it's completely contrast detection based. It basically, once it focuses from far to near, it just overshoots a little bit, then comes back. And it does it again and again. And believe me, I've tried so many different combination of settings: AFS, AFC, face detection on, face detection off, touch the screen, nudge the joystick, you name it. I might actually link my tests um, in the link in the description to another video. I'll leave that one unlisted with those actual results, so you can see for yourself what's going on. I compare it to the Tamron 17 to 72.8, which is what I'm filming on right now, and you can see that Tamron's doing a much better job. Partly, I think it is to do with it being 1.8. So when you're 1.8 and you're doing that kind of focus pull, you really show up any little problem like of overshooting. I think 2. It does do a little bit better when you stop it down to 2.8, but then part of me is like, well, I bought it for 1.8, not 2.8. So again, I'm not blaming Sigma, I'm blaming Fuji for this. And I've seen this overshooting on focus pulls with native Fuji lenses as well. The 50 to 140 does it. I have that back there. So I don't hold Sigma responsible for that. I just hope that somehow Sigma would do their wonders with it and it would be a really good experience. But it's not. And so for me, I'm just like, well, why? I've already got the 18 to 35, right? And it actually has a focus ring that's like the DSLR era. Now it can keep going and going and going, but you do feel it when it hits it. It clicks when it gets to the maximum and minimum. And the focus ring is just a much nicer focus pull. So if you want to do an organic focus pull, you are doing a better job with the older EF glass. So for me, the other thing is the EF glass is great because you can adapt it to other things. I may well pick up a Canon body in 2026. That's what I'm saying. I may pick up this lens again. The next time I get it, it just won't be an X mount. So, and I think that really is. I don't want to really ramble on more than that. That's really why I will be probably selling this lens. It's got nothing to do with image quality. Is great. Chromatic aberration control is decent and fine. Sharpness is excellent. I can't really think of anything else to say. I mean, build quality is great. Some people think this is heavy. They've no clue. I mean, this is 500 grams. It's nothing at all. Definitely, it's the sort of thing I can shoot one-handed with. And in fact, I'm kind of depressed. I'm going to go back to like what's almost a kilogram. I think side by side. Let's do that. So I'll try and block my face out. So you get an idea. This is the difference of them. Obviously, I've got the adapter on this one, but that's what you'd have to have if you were going to use it on X mount. And there's a big difference in size and weight of these. This one here is getting close to about a kilogram now. I think it's about an 800-gram lens. This adapter's solid metal as well. Has an aperture ring. That one's got quite heavy too. Yeah, and this is like 500 grams. So it is disappointing, but it is what it is. And at the end of the day, the XH2S is a fantastic camera. It's got a great sensor. It is very good for doing mixed media. It's a shame there are shortcomings, and they are mainly to do with Fuji and the software, I believe. But it is what it is. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. I mean, but there are no other stack sensor APS-C, and stack sensor is just happens to be important in my line of work for reasons I won't really get too much into in this video. But yeah, I hope. I think I've said everything I'm going to say about that. We have some other things to talk about. Future videos, we'll talk about this big bad boy. So I picked up the old 200 f2. That's a timely discussion to talk about this lens whilst we've got some 200 f2s on the market coming up. Again, that 200 f2 from Laowa, that's coming out as an EF mount. So if you use one of these fringe adapters, you could use that lens. That's fantastic, actually. It's really, really good. And again, that's that speed booster, the Fringer Ultra, this one here. So you could use that 200 f2 Laowa with this adapter and actually get a full frame 200 f2 experience, unlike the 200 f2 we get on the APS-C. So there's some things to think about, and I'll do a review on these adapters as well in the near future. But I think for now that's it. Fantastic lens, Fuji.